The other day, for the first time ever, I felt incredibly old. And I know you're probably thinking, how does this baby-faced kid ever feel old? Well, it's true. There's a few reasons why I felt old. 2 reasons. The first reason was I found my old school blazer. And it wasn't that it didn't fit anymore, because as you can tell, I've definitely had a growth spurt since year 4. It was, in fact, that on the back of this blazer was written in Sharpie, K-Dog was ear 2K7. Now, unfortunately for all of you, I have since dropped the guise of K-Dog. I realized that if I wanted a career in anything, I couldn't keep going as K-Dog anymore, so I dropped that. The other reason that I felt old was that I was in a bookshop. That's not it. But I was in a bookshop, and I came across the language section, and on there, there was how to speak French, how to speak Chinese, and then there was this book, How to Speak Emoji. Basically, for those in the room that are thinking, where on earth is emoji? I was never consulted on this new country, whereabouts is it? It is, in fact, actually not a country, but the emoticons, or the animated pictures that you have on your phone or you use for instant messaging, which are the smiley face, the winky face, the I'm feeling naughty, tongue out face. And what made me feel old about this was that we've kind of gone full circle from hieroglyphics to words to digital hieroglyphics. That's kind of what's happened. But this book, for kind of all of its purposes, basically tells you how to form full sentences using only these emoticons, which I was like, even I feel old now. And I kind of went away and I thought, this probably underlines, more importantly than anything, the message I want to give away today, I want to talk about. The idea that although information is readily available, and Google it, I know everything is a potential competition for teachers in terms of an information perspective, more importantly than anything, the fact that Googling it is a verb is probably more scary. And for this reason, and this is actually the new technology, the new clicker that we've just invented for today is this kind of throw motion. So I'm throwing the slides up there. So yeah, this is kind of what's happening. But for those that remember Kodak, you will know the Kodak moment. Of course, if you ask any or the people in the room that have got no idea what Kodak is, you're part of the digital age, because of course Kodak was disrupted in its space and the Kodak moment is no more. I want to throw the question over to you today to say, actually, is education fit for purpose in an external perspective? Because we can do a lot of talking about how inwardly we can change education. We can introduce these things in lessons. We can use technology more. We can, smile differently. I don't know, whatever it could be. However, actually, is it fit for purpose in this bigger space, in the actual things that are going on in the world? Is education ripe for disruption? Is it the time for you as teachers, as educators, to go out there and say, do you know what, I'm not listening to Ofsted anymore. I'm not listening to the government anymore. I'm not listening to this anymore. I'm not listening to that anymore. Now, I appreciate they're big questions, and you're probably thinking, well, we can't do that. But guess what? There are people in businesses and not in businesses around the world that didn't like something, and they changed it. And now we just take it for granted. PayPal, mobile phones, even when we're talking about Apple, things have been disrupted, and I think education is ready to be disrupted before it has its Kodak moment. So, why do I think these changes need to exist? Why do I think they need to happen? Because, as I say, the landscape is changing. We have new technology that exists. We have new things that are going on, but also we have new careers that are available. People necessarily aren't going to work for one job for the rest of their life. They're looking at a portfolio of careers. So how do we prepare a young person with the soft skills that they might utilize throughout many careers? Also, we've got the potential now to form a career out of being on YouTube, in your bedroom, and millions of pounds. And actually, that's quite appealing to some young people because, of course, there's lots of things that go along with that. But actually, what we need to do is we need to be, as I say, externally looking at the things that are going on in our world, the changes that are happening, not just in technology, but in culture, in our behaviors. How are they adapting? How are they changing? That is going to get old, I'm sure, but I'm going to milk it until the end. I was trying to think of some questions that I had when I was at school. So James has these coins in his pocket. How much does James have? Now, I always remember, and I'm sure some people in the room will as well, that when you were learning to count, your mum and dad would chuck out a load of coppers, and you'd go, okay, 1 + 1, 2, 2, 5, whatever it is, and you'd work out how to count. So you now give this question to a young person of the future, and they're going to say, what are coins? And they're going to say, why doesn't he just check his iWatch? Why doesn't James go on his online banking and just see how much he has? And the reason I tell you this is not because, of course, he still needs to learn how to count, or the person, student needs to learn how to add up, but because these things are changing, and you need to ensure that you stay relevant as educators. The second question, oranges cost £1 for 4. James would like an orange. How many oranges can James have? Well, James may be standing there in the future going, well, I don't need to buy things anymore. I'm just going to digitally print them in my bedroom because, it's easy now to just print food. Now, although that may seem like something that's absolutely ridiculous, let's just see what happens in 5 to 10 years, when we're all just digitally printing food, and you've just downloaded the pizza app, and now you literally have pizza, which is obviously an app we're all trying to invent right now. So what I wanted to, share with you is this thinking that although we might be we might be trying to use technology in a different way, we might be trying to teach in a different way, we might be trying to change our classrooms, maybe put beanbag zones in because we're cool and innovative, when actually all we've done is just bought beanbags and put them in a room, and they've kind of got a bit smelly now, so nobody goes on them. Actually, what we need to be doing is adjusting the way we think about how we're teaching for a relevance perspective. The other thing which I think is really interesting, this may shock some people, is that this right here, is the, on the left, although they are the same thing, of course, this is the most realistic human-looking robot in the world, Now, how do you, as educators, bearing in mind all the challenges that you have, educate a generation, on sex education for a generation that may lose their virginity to a robot? Now, that's a weird question. I appreciate that. Is it far from the truth? Happening in the future? Probably not, all right? This could be a thing. So if you're struggling now with sex education, meet RoboCop up there. So I guess one of the things I want to talk about, to kind of pull it all together, is that there are challenges going throughout the world today. There are big issues. There are things that are exciting. There are things that we need to tackle. There are opportunities as well as big challenges. When we look at why young people are engaged in their social networks, they want to be on Facebook, they want to play with their phones, they want to do all these interesting things, it's because, as I say, they find them interesting, they're part of a community, they're part of an idea. Bring your own device, should not be like, shall they be on Facebook? Shall they be on Twitter? What will they do? Actually, it should be, come in, hack stuff. Go on, try and take the school network down. Go and have a go at this. Go and innovate. Just try stuff, because you know what? We've got big issues in the world, and we need to solve them. And you guys are naive, and you guys don't see the boundaries. Guys don't see the obstacles. So come in and have some fun, because do you know what? Climate change is not a class project anymore. If your school teaches climate change by putting pictures of no trees and stuff on a wall and saying, look, that's climate change, then you're doing it all wrong. But you know what? We've got all those young people in there who are willing, ready, and engaged to get involved in new ideas, and we should be saying to them, go on, how do we solve it? How do we change it? And how can we as a school, as a community, as an environment, foster those ideas? As the voice of Siri said to me, or introduced me coming on, I did speak to my principal as I left school, and I said I wasn't too chuffed with the course because I didn't feel it gave me the practical kind of skills and experience that I wanted. So I went to him and said, what was the point in that course? How can it be improved? What can we do together to make it work? And this question, of course, is a question that I'm sure you hear all of the time from all of the children that you teach. And I'm sure it's even a question that you ask yourselves. What is the point? And you probably still, even from the teacher perspective, go, what is the point? But this question is a question that I used to ask at school. So then I went to my principal, and I said to him, I've got loads of ideas, and I want to make some change, and I want to do this. And he said, Kieran, you're very entrepreneurial. Now, at this time in my life, I was telling my mum and dad that I don't know what I want to do with my career or my job, or where I'm going to go to university or not. And as soon as this principal said, you're entrepreneurial, I went home and said, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. Now, that's the excuse I've used ever since. It's pretty much working out. But the point is that he believed in me, and it enabled me to believe in myself. And ever since, I've been asking a different question, which is, what is the potential? And this question, I think, is the key to how we start to ensure that education stays relevant. It is ripe for disruption, and I task you all to go out there and say, okay, screw it. How can we do something different? How can we do something that nobody's doing? How can we take a risk? How can we just rip up the paper or maybe not the iPad, smash the iPad, and how can we do something that might engage in a completely different way? And how do we get young people staying relevant and asking this question: what is the potential? Thank you.